Let's do this.
I think we're live.
Let's go. Well, Happy New Year, everybody. I think we can say that since it's the first time we're coming to you. I don't know when the appropriate time is to stop saying Happy New Year, but I'm just going to keep saying it from time to time. This is Caleb. I'm coming to you live from Warsaw, Indiana with my beautiful beige wall. I have some serious backdrop envy from Matthew over there. Matthew, where are you coming in from today?
Phoenix area, Santan Valley, technically, but no one knows that. So Phoenix.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I won't speak for Matthew. I'll speak for myself. If you happen to find yourself in the middle of nowhere, Indiana, aka Northern Indiana, reach out. Always happy to grab coffee or beer or water or whatever your budget allows. Come on, swing through. We got some great coffee shops and great restaurants in Warsaw, Indiana. So swing through. I would imagine the same holds true for Matthew. But again,
Definitely does.
for him, I think if you bring him bourbon, he'll be happier. So
It would be a little happier. That's true.
tiny bit happier. Well, Matthew, I got to get you up here to Indiana. Not in the winter, maybe. I know it's pretty cold, but we got to do something about this backdrop. So we'll get on that.
Yeah, we'll do something. We'll set you up.
Beautiful. Well, if you are jumping on here, drop a note, say hey. If you're not signed in on Facebook, it just shows up as Facebook user. We're going to mercilessly call you Facebook user. But drop your name, say where you're from, what you're excited about this year, and we're going to kind of jump in. We tend to do these webinars about once a month. We're not super religious when it comes to dropping those in, but we like to do these about every couple weeks. So if you're new to the channel, if you're new to the Facebook group, new to the community, hello, and we're glad you're here. We usually have a little bit of an informal time. We'll kind of share some trends in the industry, maybe some new things that we're working on, some things we're discovering, learning, maybe some things that Amazon's changing. And from time to time, we'll take questions from you as well. That's kind of the meat of this. So we'll share just a little bit to kick things off. We got somebody from Germany. Hello. We got somebody from Vancouver, Washington, not to be confused with Vancouver, Canada. Hey from Pa. What about Ma? Irish Hills, Michigan. All right. Go green.
Do you know where that is?
I don't. I'm going to guess Detroit-ish, but I don't know. I bleed green and white. I got my Michigan State mouse pad here. TM.
Santan Valley, just down the road. That's rare.
Sweet. Somebody hit some golf balls at his house, please.
Yeah, do it.
So we will jump in here. A couple things as the new year kicks off. One, the Amazon fees always change. We keep hoping they'll go down. I don't think that's ever going to happen. But the Amazon fees went up a little bit. Storage fees go back down as we get out of Q4. I think on average, the FBA fees went up about 20 to 25 cents per item. It just depends on the weight and dimensions. So not ridiculous. You may want to change your triggers a bit. We already factor in the fees, but if you want to make a little higher percentage, you can do that. And if you do use a repricer and have some custom rules built in, you may want to change your floor prices just a bit. What's interesting is every year we see this, the fees go up, and a lot of the bigger players, not to throw shade, but they just don't tend to update their pricing. So when the fees go up about 20 to 25 cents, you'd expect the floor price on FBA items to go up about 20 to 25 cents to compensate. However, that doesn't seem to be the case. It feels like the bigger players tend to catch up about a month or two later. So just keep your eye on that. Again, ScoutIQ is already updated all of the fees as well. Your app should be updated as you get into it. A couple other things that we've been seeing, and I think I saw Mike Kreider on here, so I'll give a little nod, tip of the proverbial hat to him. Guys, check out my my prison tracker. I can't leave the house, so that's kind of cool. Actually, it's just a Whoop. For anybody that doesn't know, Whoop is a heart rate monitor. This is just my my charger. I got Matthew in on it. I think I got David Chung in on it. So we're trying to spread the Whoop love. I wish I had an affiliate code, but check out Whoop, continuous heart rate monitor, very popular among PGA golfers. And I am a sucker for marketing, so I have signed up and become one of the Whoop clan. So Mike Kreider predicted, and I would like to say I predicted as well. I don't want to give him all the credit. But when restock limits kicked in, felt like second quarter of last year, maybe April, May, that was kind of a way for Amazon to say, hey, even though you have unlimited inventory, you can only restock so many items. Bill, that's where Bill Martlink in the house says, sell back your book. I don't understand what this lingo means, but welcome to the show, Bill. And actually, Bill, stay tuned. There's some cool stuff here coming up in one of the feature releases, so you'll like that. When restock limits kicked in, that was a way for Amazon to control the flow of goods into the warehouse. In 2020, the first year of COVID, now we're on the third year of COVID, but 2020 e-commerce doubled in the US, so it grew, I think, 98%. Amazon grew their warehouse space by roughly 50%, which is absolutely bonkers considering that their average warehouse is typically 1 million square feet or more. And so they added 50% capacity, which for the size and scale that they were already at, that's massive. However, the demand for online goods grew at 100%, so Amazon was still unable to keep up. What did they do? They threw restock limits in play, which was kind of the bane of our existence. Right when COVID hit, I actually switched over to merchant fulfilled because Amazon blocked anything from going into the warehouses. And then as the restock limits kicked in 2021 to protect Amazon's warehouse space, we were able to just continue doing merchant fulfilled. So from my journey, I was 100% FBA. I was a big advocate. I preached the powers of FBA, and I never thought I'd do merchant fulfilled, and yet here we are. So we got some people sitting in rush hour traffic in Boston. You can work from home, Matt. You can live anywhere. So maybe get out of Boston. Just a joke. Got some people from South Carolina, San Francisco. We got a bunch of people from all over. So thanks for being here. At any rate, when we get to the restock limits, the prediction was these are going to, I think they rolled them out in April of 2021, maybe May. Someone can correct me. I bet Mike will jump in and say that. So let's just say April. The thought was this maybe clears up a little bit as we get into the summer, as the warehouse space opens up, maybe as we get into the fall. The problem with that is then people start ramping up for Q4, for Christmas, for Black Friday, for all the sales that happen then. And so even if Amazon was able to clear out some of the backlog or to open more warehouse space, Q4 was going to just shut that door. So my prediction when it rolled out, and I think Michael, we'll give him the credit, was that we were not going to see restock limits really be released or backed off until early this year, early 2022. And unfortunately, it lasted that long. Fortunately, we're starting to see those limits open back up. So we've posted in the group a fair number of times. I know many of you couldn't even send product in or very little product. Personally, our FBA inventory went from about 12,000 down to about 3,000 as we ramped up the merchant fulfilled. Every time we'd send more books in, or we try to go send books in, those limits would just keep coming down, keep coming down, keep coming down. We did do some removals to get out in front of it. And if I didn't have space for merchant fulfilled, we certainly would have been more aggressive on repricing and tried to free up space. Because we could do merchant fulfilled, that wasn't a big deal. So we are back on the FBA train. We're shipping a pallet or two every week, and those limits have steadily been increasing. So comment as well if you've seen those going up. If you have seen them going down, maybe that's an indicator that you need to focus on repricing or sending in better inventory. So that is kind of an update on the restock limits. The good news is that should open up the warehouses. My hunch is this is now an arrow in Amazon's quiver. This is going to be something that they probably do again in the near future. Again, at this point, as e-commerce starts to level out, as people get more back out and doing regular retail shopping, my hunch is this doesn't come into play again until late fall as we get into Q4 again. So that's a good news for any of the FBA players. The fees went up just a little bit, which again is to be expected. So really nothing new, and we'll just cross our fingers, knock on wood, and say Amazon hopefully doesn't change too much in the near future. So it should be full steam ahead. Again, pending stock market crash or anything crazy going on, I would expect that we don't see restock limits kick back in until the fall, maybe early to late September, October. So that's it on the restock limits. Matthew, bring your pretty face back up here.
I'm here.
So you like to get into the personal development stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, somewhat, yeah.
What's something you're learning this year? Actually, do you want to share your resolution?
Yeah. So my resolution this year was a little different than I've done in the past. I don't know if it's necessarily a resolution, but what I decided to do was think back over the past year and try and figure out what things I would do throughout a day that would make me feel extremely productive and accomplished by the end of the day. I knew certain things I definitely didn't want to do, things that made me feel rushed or didn't spend enough time with the family or didn't get enough accomplished. of course, you go to bed feeling kind of crappy about your day. So I try to think of the days that I went to bed feeling good and accomplished about my day. I kind of made a list of all the things I typically do in that day. I called it kind of my perfect day. So I basically made my perfect day, wrote it out as if I could wave a magic wand. This is what my perfect day would look like. And then I've just been trying to stick to that schedule and try and repeat more of those things throughout the day, and try and, of course, do less of the things that I know lead to a less fulfilling day. And it's actually worked out pretty well so far. I feel like, minus being sick the first week of January, sticking to that schedule really has made me feel more accomplished at the end of the day, and it reminds me of what my priorities are as I go through, rather than just tackling whatever seems urgent at the moment.
Yeah. I like that. I'm a sucker for resolutions. I love fresh starts. I always get excited when January rolls around. I've talked to many of you out there. I know lots of you are kind of opposed to resolutions or think they're cheesy and stay away. But Matthew, if you ever run across him in real life, ask him about some of his habits and what he does for personal development and growth. He's got some pretty good things going on over there. So he's
appreciate that.
Definitely an inspiration at times. But I love your resolution just because you're not trying to say, hey, I want to lose this many pounds or work out this often or eat this. You just said, I want to get to the end of the day and say, was that a good day? Was that a perfect day? And do more of the things that get you there and less of the things that don't. I have a little bit of Matthew inspired me. I've got a little bit of an inspirational story. I keep seeing it on TikTok and Instagram, and it's an older story. I've heard it in books as well. So for those of you that are trying to establish habits, maybe it's getting out and scouting every day or every weekend or listing inventory or just, working out or some personal habits. There's kind of an interesting thread. And the idea is, how do you convince yourself to just keep showing up? So most of us think, let's say you want to work out 5 days a week, 3 days a week. You're like, that's a lot of effort. I got to get up early, got to go to the gym, got to, figure out what I'm going to do, what's the most effective. I got to sweat. I got to be there for a half hour or an hour. And one of the keys to establishing a routine is sort of convincing yourself that you're the sort of person that shows up. And so the example I keep seeing, maybe you've seen it on TikTok videos as well, is the idea of, if you want to establish a habit of going to the gym, what you have to do is set your alarm. Let's say you want to go in at 6 a.m. and simply drive to the gym, get there at 6 a.m. and then literally for the first week or so, maybe even 2 weeks, only stay for 5 minutes. And you go, well, that's kind of dumb. I'm here. I should be working out. The point is, you're trying to prove to yourself that you're the kind of person that is going to show up consistently. And showing up is half the battle. Getting out of bed, fighting the cold weather here in Indiana, driving over to the YMCA or wherever you go. And just that habit of going there, doing just one quick workout and then going home gets you in that habit. So whatever you're trying to work on, whether it's eating better, whether it's, going out and scouting consistently, I would challenge you to find some way to get out there and just start showing up consistently and see where that leads you. Of course, really once you're in the habit, again, you might be like, well, I'm already here. I might as well do it. Great, do it. But the fact is, just get yourself to be able to show up and get in the rhythm as well. A couple things on travel. We're starting to travel again. That means maybe, just maybe, turn the pages will start to show up again. So stay tuned. Woo-hoo! We're going to try and do, what did we say, 3 or 4 maybe this year?
I thought we said 10 or 11.
Yeah, well, we got a lot to make up for. I don't know what your travel budget is, Matthew, but I'm still trying to eat steak over here. I was just in Austin. David Chung and I were over in Austin. We got to hang out with a couple of you, so thanks to those that showed up. I am drinking a beautiful espresso from Mozart's Coffee. So that was a pretty sweet treat. So Jason and Melissa, thanks for taking us there. That was awesome. The food scene in Austin is unbelievable. I'll try and get back down there again. The weather's great. Lots of, it's like they say, keep Austin weird. So if you're in the Facebook group as well, we will be doing some meetups. I think we did a Vegas and Austin, although Vegas we canceled because it was last second. Nobody said they were coming. So that's on us. We should have planned ahead. And keep your eyes peeled on Facebook. We'll try and post on Instagram as well, maybe some email type stuff. But we'll be doing some meetups as travel happens. There'll be a bunch of us in Denver in about a week, and I'll be in Orlando the week after. So keep your eyes peeled. We'll do some just casual dinners. It's no charge for that. Pay for your own food, whatever. But come on out, interact with some other sellers, say hey. We always love to meet you and hear what's going on. So that's all of the intro. at this point, I think it's time. Actually, Manny says we need a Midwest turn the page. Yeah, we do. So we did a Chicago not that long ago. And we did Atlanta. That's not really Midwest. We haven't really done Northeast. So that's something we've talked about doing, like a Boston, maybe a New York, somewhere up in there. And then, yeah, we could do Michigan pretty easily, Ohio pretty easily. I'm in Indiana. We could do Indianapolis. Heck, you guys could all
Phoenix,
come to Warsaw. Huh?
Said Phoenix is always a good location.
Phoenix is always good. Happen to know somebody there. Someone says Michigan, all caps. So maybe we'll do something up there. Grand Rapids is beautiful. Detroit's making a comeback. The fellow that's stuck in Boston traffic says come to Boston. I don't know. It's a hard sell. Well, with the new year, we've got new excitement. We've been putting together some features, getting our roadmap together for ScoutIQ, and we're going to be hinting at some other stuff. IQ2 maybe. It's just kind of our internal code name. So at any rate, we've been putting some features together. We want to walk through that today. So many of you helped beta test this feature, and actually the feature came, I don't remember who first asked for it, but several of you have asked for it in the Facebook groups. And so we listened like we like to do, and we put something together. This is something that's only for you Apple guys. Apple stock has been roaring. They actually reached out. They're starting to struggle a bit. The whole stock market's struggling. And they came to us for whatever reason. I don't know how they found us, but they said, hey, guys, we're struggling with our Apple Watch sales, and we need a little bit of help. Can you help us? And after laughing for a bit and realizing that I don't think we're going to move the needle for Apple, we did roll out something for Apple Watch. So we are calling it Ninja Mode. It's, again, a little bit of a hat tip, head nod to Reezy. He's got his Reezy Ninja group, but it's just a great name. Leads to some nice emojis as well. So we are rolling out Ninja Mode. And again, many of you have been beta testing that. If you're beta testing it right now, you're using test flight, you're going to want to kill that. The release should roll out today. We're still pending approval from Apple. They tend to take their sweet time. So that build has been submitted. We're going to walk you through it a little bit. It's going to be a little bit difficult to showcase it here. I've got my Apple Watch up. We'll kind of show the data here. You can little sneak peek. There it is. So Matthew kind of has some screenshots that we'll get to in just a second, but I'm going to share my phone screen. I don't think there's a way to share my watch screen other than being old school like this. So we're going to do that, but we're going to walk you through what that looks like. And for those of you that are on Android, it's not too late to come over to the good side. There's a lot of trade-in offers. I'm sure you could trade your phone in or just use it as a coffee mug or, a cup holder. And, yeah, I'm all over the Michigan State stuff today. Go green. Big game tonight playing Wisconsin. So if any Badgers are in the house, I'm sorry. Although you guys will probably win since you're at home. So we will show this. We are looking into it for Android Wear as well. So for those of you that like the circle screens and all the other technology that runs on Android Wear, we are looking into that. No promises there. I imagine it's doable, but we got another aggressive roadmap that we're looking at. So Matthew, I'm going to share my screen, and then at some point we'll get your screenshot up there. We'll talk through the feature. We're going to have a bigger user guide. Someone's saying go blue. Can we block that user real quick? We don't need any of this University of Michigan stuff. Come on now, show your face, whoever that is. So I'm going to share my screen. We are going to walk through just the basics of the feature, and then we'll have like a more advanced user guide showing up on our help desk as we go. So is that visible, Matthew? There we go. There's my son. Going to be 4 here before I know it, which is crazy. And for those of you that like notifications and get a little bit OCD as this shows up, you're welcome. We're just going to leave those there. I do answer my phone from time to time, contrary to popular opinion, but we've got ScoutIQ. We're going to bring this up. So again, the new version will be, I believe it's 5.0.4. That'll show up in the App Store probably later today. We're still waiting on Apple, again, to approve it. If anybody knows anybody internally and can tap them on the shoulder, that'd be great. But they typically approve same day, so we should be good. So here is the app. Nothing changes on the inside of the app. There's nothing you need to turn on. What you're going to do is you can take your handy-dandy barcode scanner and your handy-dandy books. This is a brand new one. I'll give a little friendly plug. Chip Heath, one of my favorite authors. He's done The Power of Moments, which is a pretty fascinating book. He did Decisive, Switch, Made to Stick. You guys have maybe heard of many of those books. Anyway, they're well researched. I believe he's a college professor, and he did some research with Carla Starr about the value of numbers. If you know me, you know I like numbers, and it's just a fascinating way to kind of relate to people and help people understand numbers when most people don't speak numbers. So I don't even know what barcode scanner this is. I think somebody mailed it to me as like a private label type thing to test out. So I guess I'm testing it out. So what you're going to do is when you download the new app, again, there's nothing to change on the actual app itself, but there's going to be a ScoutIQ Apple Watch app that shows up. All you have to do is open it. This is going to serve as an extension of the ScoutIQ app. So what you're going to do is if you really like, if you're in a covert area or ninja mode, let's say you go to a thrift store, you're not real comfortable scanning in front of people, or heaven forbid, you're at a library sale that you're not supposed to be scanning at. We're not going to confirm, condone, condemn any of that. You can do what you want to do. But many of you, what you do is you put your phone on lock screen, and you can do that on ScoutIQ. For those that don't know how to do that, we're going to show that in just a second. So you could put your phone on lock screen. You could use audio cues and just hear the accept, reject. Unfortunately, many of you are in spots where the buy cost is variable. So it might be $3 or $1 or $10, and just hearing accept isn't necessarily good enough. So instead of having to look at your phone, pull that out of your pocket, if you're really in a covert area, or you just don't like carrying your phone on your wrist or in your other hands, then what this allows you to do is get that key data right on your wrist. So you could use that with an AirPod or a wireless headphone or just regular headphones. You could get the audio cues if you want. And then when you get, when it cues in on accept, you could look at the data, make sure it's good. And again, we'll kind of walk you through what that data is. So it's kind of a cool James Bond type feature. You can see the data in real time. A couple weird things with Apple Watch. They don't allow developers to keep the screen on 100% of the time. So what's going to happen is as you're looking at the data, at some point your screen goes dark like this. All you have to do is tap the screen and it re-shows. The cool part is we're going to pass the data from the app to your Apple Watch in the background. The downside of that is if you forget about it and scan 300 books over the course of a half hour and then go to wake your watch back up, it's going to send all of that data back through. So it's going to be a little bit crazy. So a best practice is if you're not using the Apple Watch version, close out of that. So actually hit the button on your Apple Watch, not the crown, but the regular button, and close the app. That'll prevent that loop from happening. So we'll continue to improve this. And again, as you have feedback, let us know. But let's just show you how it works. So we're going to scan a barcode, making numbers count. That data comes up on the app here, and then it pops up on the wrist as well. And again, when it notices that I'm turning my wrist, it kind of goes to hidden mode to protect it. So you can see the green accept. It actually vibrates to let me know that the data came through. And I can actually swipe. If I could do this while I'm looking, you can swipe and see the data. Now, for those of you with older eyes, or if you don't have a magnifying glass handy, that is a lot of data to look at. Matthew will show you what that looks like as well. But again, you can just see the core metrics in a pincher. So you see accept, reject. We'll walk through it in just a second. You can see the profit. You can see the sellback price as well. There you go, Bill. You can see the e-score, rank, and a title. And again, what you can do is just keep simply working your way through. So here's how it's going to work essentially is you want to go over to settings. And for those that didn't know this existed, you can come over here to lock screen. We're going to toggle that on. What it's going to do is it just makes it so you can still tap the screen, but nothing really happens. So that way you don't accidentally close the app. You can essentially just put it in your pocket. Once you move this out of the circle, then it becomes unlocked. But for now, it's locked. So what that allows us to do is put the phone away, get it out of sight, out of mind. Now we can simply take our barcode scanner and have our wrist ready, and we can simply go through and scan books. And you're going to see accept. It's going to pop up here. Siri keeps thinking I'm trying to talk to her. Whoop. I know it's upside down. We'll get to it in just a second. We got some cool stock market trading books that tend to be very, very pricey, which is cool. So for those of you that like to trade or gamble, as I like to do. So again, you can see that data popping up. And the way Apple Watch works is every time you rotate your wrist, it kind of thinks that it's in protection mode and doesn't want to let people see it. So if anybody figures out a better way to keep that front and center, that's great. Otherwise, if you keep your wrist here, what I like to do is kind of have the pile of books on the shelf. I'm trying to show this here. And then I essentially just pull the book out, and you can kind of see the back of your wrist as you go. So one hand that has the Apple Watch pulls the book out. The other hand is scanning with the barcode scanner, And as you scan, you can essentially just tilt your wrist down and see that data as well. So that is the feature in a nutshell. And Matthew, if you want to pull up the slides, we can actually walk through what they actually look like here in real life. We're getting a lot of Apple love and hate. Someone says they're trading their Z Fold for an iPhone. Melissa says, howdy from Texas. We just talked about the coffee shop, Mozart's Coffee. I brought some espresso beans back home with me and enjoyed those this morning. So thanks for that. And Mitchell says, just the core metrics, can't cross-check. We'll show you actually can. And of course, you can always pull your phone back out of your pocket. Matthew, you want to pull those slides up here?
Yeah, let me grab them real fast. I noticed that with StreamYard, the service we're using right now to show you guys this live stream, you can now upload PowerPoints directly to it. That's kind of cool. I didn't notice that until I hit the button to share. All right, let me share my screen.
What do you mean? Like you can actually put them there so everybody can like download it?
Like no PowerPoint slide. So I can upload a whole PowerPoint slide and just click it and go through it live on here instead of having like the screen share.
Everybody's innovating.
All right, let me see here real fast. All right,
Perfect.
see that?
Here we go. Yeah, so it's kind of a mock-up at what it looks like. Have you read that book, Matthew? I've not read This is the Title.
I don't know. It seems like a good one, though.
Yeah, it probably has bad reviews. Kind of seems a little mysterious. So again, it's just at a glance. Here's the data you can see. You can see the accept, reject. Again, the more you can dial in your triggers, the better decisions you're going to get there. You're going to see the estimated profit, including all the Amazon fees, including your buy cost if you have it in there as well. You can see what sellback your book is paying, if anything. You can see the e-score and the rank. And then you can see reject as well. And of course, if there is no rank or sellback's not offering, then that's going to be there as well. Josh says you should be able to turn off your wrist activation going to watch, general, wake screen, turn off wake screen by wrist rate. So there you go. So there's some ways to play around with it and hopefully not have to interact with the screen as well. So, and then Matthew, you want to show the other screen here? So that's the main screen. That's what you're mostly going to use. This one, you may need a magnifying glass or some bifocals. So we apologize. It is very small. But for those that do want to kind of look over and check without having to pull your phone back out, you can see the merchant fulfilled prices, the FBA prices, all the new ones, and then whatever buy boxes and Amazon price are in play. And again, you can see which price is highlighted as well to kind of make better decisions. So those are available. You just simply swipe left and right on the screen to see how that works, and that'll help you out quite a bit. So that is that's what's going on. The Claude says I tried the iPhone app for the full week. I might have scanned 1,000 books, 100% discretion. So that's great. The downside is if one is learning to read the data is on a very small screen. That is true. So again, it's not really a replacement for the phone. The phone still has to be there, but this allows you to kind of scan quietly. Matthew and I went and recorded some video content at a garage sale maybe 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now. And again, when you're out in the open with a barcode scanner and your phone and going through the books, the prices that they ask tend to go up a little bit. So it is nice if you can kind of scan covertly. And whether you're in a thrift store, again, there's nothing wrong with doing it. But if you're in a thrift store or at some sort of a garage sale, then it is pretty nice to be able to kind of have even smaller scanner than this. I like the Opticons. They're about the size of a 9-volt battery, so maybe half the size of this. It just really fits in your hands. Imagine something that's half this size that you can just kind of walk around with, kind of palm it if you want, if you're into magic. And then you can scan the books. You can easily see.
What scanner is that?
I don't even know. I think it's who's the fella on TikTok that built his own course and did some marketing for us.
He's the blinking out his username he goes by.
Anyway, it's the Australian guy. I think he sent this because he was going to do like a white label. It's called JSI Tech, and I don't know if that's him or if that's just the main brand. I don't know. It's probably like a $30 scanner out of China. I don't know, but it works fine. So figured show that off. So that is in a nutshell what we've got going there. And again, it's not groundbreaking in any way, but the idea is for those of you that have been asking, it's kind of fun to experience looking at the accept, reject, getting that data on your wrist. It does allow you to be covert when the situation calls for it, as well as it's just something fun. And maybe now you can buy an Apple Watch and consider it a business expense. Talk to your CPA,
That's
This is
true.
but that's the feature in a nutshell. So it'll be version 5.0.4, and that'll be rolling out on iOS. Actually, let me check. Maybe they already approved it while we were talking.
And this is attached to the main app, correct?
Yeah, this is the main app. So you'll have to download an update to the app, and then you can go into your. Most of you have the app updates like auto installed, both on the app as well as the Apple Watch. If not, you can go to the Watch app on your iPhone and scroll down to apps, and then you can find ScoutIQ and install that. So you'll have to open the app on your wrist, open the app on your phone, and then scan away, and you can get that data as well. Just one other note: if you do have sounds turned on your phone in the app, you will hear an audio cue here. If you don't want to hear that, again, if you're trying to be covert, then you can actually just have haptics or vibration, and you can turn the sounds off as well. So that is what's going on the Apple Watch. And this is just the first release. It made it through beta testing, no major issues. So we will continue to monitor. I see some comments. Does it show restricted? Those are things that we'll look to add over time as well, just to make it better. But again, we wanted to get that out there for you. You can sample it, play with it. If you do have feedback, our team's always open for ideas. You can drop us a line on Facebook. You can message us. The best place, though, is email. That's where our team kind of responds to all messages. So drop us a line. Either support@scoutiq.co.com is taken. They won't sell it to us. Come on now. So support@scoutiq.co or info@scoutiq.co, and drop us feedback, drop us photos, and we will take that into consideration. So at this point, we're going to stop talking about us and let's talk about you. So if you have questions, we're going to start fielding those. If you want to ask Matthew all kinds of cool questions about his backdrop, that's awesome. And we will spend as long as you want. It is about 4:30 Eastern. I made a mistake. We did say 1 p.m. Pacific. I was kind of panicked.
I should have used Eastern. That was my fault.
I was calling Matthew like 5 minutes before 1 Eastern going, did you send a link? Are we going to be late? What's going on? He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, we're going live. He's like, no, dummy, it's 1 p.m. Pacific. So
you scared me to death. I was like, oh no, I got the times wrong.
Yeah. We're used to talking on Amazon's time, which they do everything Pacific, being out of Seattle. So we will make sure we put Eastern time and Hawaii time and Germany time, wherever you're calling from. So we will get into that as well. Dustin says, would this feature come to Android in the future? We're looking into it. So it'd be through the Wear OS or the Android Wear. And that would actually open up to a number of devices. And if that happens, we will definitely take a peek. So that's something we're looking at. Any date on bringing ScoutIQ to the German marketplace, that'd be great. Matthew, do you remember the URL to sign up for international markets?
It should be scoutiq.co/countries.
I believe that's it. So we do need 100 users.
Double check that.
Pretty sure that's it as well. I think it's scoutiq.co/countries. So that is something we can look into. At this point, we don't have enough people that have signed up for it or have requested it, so it doesn't make sense for us to do it. Maybe we'll do live, but at this point right now, we are US and we are also in the UK. Someone says, I don't use my scanner since you guys came out with the high-speed mode. Awesome. High speed doesn't sound right. What do we call it? Speed mode?
Speed mode, I think is what we call it.
We should have called it high speed mode. That'd be pretty good.
High speed mode.
So glad you're enjoying that. That's the goal. I know many of you don't want to pony up and buy a scanner, or every once in a while you're out on a road trip or at work and you happen to find a pile of books and don't have your scanner charged or don't have it with you. And that's pretty nice to be able to just blaze through books. So glad you're using that.
When you're at Airbnb and you want to scan their collection, that works too.
David and I, the Airbnb we were at in Austin, we scanned through the books just to kind of test our skills in the wild, and we didn't find a whole lot. So we think Romer might have beat us to that Airbnb. Again, we do not condone stealing books from Airbnbs, but it's always fun to see what kind of books they have. Real Larry in South Carolina, as opposed to fake Larry, says, how did you lock the screen again? If you go to ScoutIQ's settings, so go back to the main page, hit the red settings icon. Right near the top, the very bottom of those like radio button options is lock screen. You can toggle that to on, and then you simply put your phone in your pocket, and you have to kind of interact, grab the lock, and pull it outside of the semicircle to get rid of it. That way, if your pants tend to touch the screen and make stuff change, it won't hurt the app at all. So What else? What else do you guys have for us, guys and gals?
Yeah, drop
Any
your questions
questions?
in the comments.
Any plans as you guys get out into 2022? What are you trying to do differently? Matthew, you had a little bit of a warehouse going on, didn't you?
I did, but I wasn't using it enough to justify the cost. My Amazon business is like 95% consignment right now. So I was in the office portion of the warehouse, which was like a 10 by 10 room 90% of the time, and the warehouse like 10% of the time. So I just moved back to the house because we had an apartment before this while this was being built. And it's not easy to work from home with 3 little kids running around in an apartment. So warehouse was good for the past year to have that space. But now that we have the house, I moved back here. So, but it was fun having a warehouse for a little while.
Yeah, it's fun to have a little space. I've got about 2,500-ish square feet here.
You got a good space, yeah.
My town. It's a good space. We've got a fair amount of merchant fulfilled shelving set up. I think I have capacity for about, oh gosh, it's been a while since I calculated, probably 12,000. We're actually going to double capacity. We're still ramping up a bit. Books, I've come off my high significantly in terms of what my highest sales year ever was, but we had a pretty decent year last year. And I've got a warehouse manager in there. I'm not in there all that often, just trying to set the direction and then set up systems. That's something I've been really working on over the last 6 months, is getting all my systems in place. Anybody heard of Notion? Notion. It's Notion, I believe, .io. It's a really cool way for your teams to all kind of stay in touch. So I've actually built out standard operating procedures for everything. Everybody that runs business says you have to have them. And I've always just been like, now just explain it to my team once or twice, and then hopefully they get it. It's been really good, especially as we've been, hiring and we've had a little bit of churn internally, but our team has grown a fair amount over the last 6 to 9 to 12 months. And so having SOPs or standard operating procedures has been extremely helpful. So I love Trello. Notion allows you to do things like Trello, and I'm a bit of a nerd with data. And so there's some database elements too, where you can essentially tell it something here and it'll flow through somewhere else. So for those of you that want to do some very simple database type stuff or manage your teams, check out Notion. I think it's a couple bucks a month, but it's at least for me, it's well worth it. So that's something fun. Do you still use your Excel sheet? I do. So I don't list with my Excel sheet anymore. I'm listing with Accelerlists, and I do ScanLister for some of the merchant fulfilled. So I have a listing sheet for Excel. I don't use that anymore. Amazon actually keeps changing the format, so there's a chance that for some of you it doesn't work from time to time. The tracking spreadsheet I still use every single month. So I take all my data from Accelerlist and I put it back into the tracking spreadsheet once a month. I put in all of my mileage, my source costs, everything else that's in play. And then I pull one sales report from Amazon and I run it through. So again, just like Matthew, a big chunk of my business is consignment. We work with libraries, individuals, thrift stores, et cetera. And so we pay them monthly based on what sells. And so I run reports for that. I use that to estimate taxes, to pay myself distributions because I have an S Corp. And so I still rely on that, a ton. And that's a pretty cool tool. So it's a tracking spreadsheet. I suppose we should probably make it into software at some point because spreadsheets are not easy to manage. But if you want to check that out, if you want to get your accounting in a better place, check out thebookflipper.com/track, TRACK. That is it's a one-time fee. It's not a software fee. And if you're watching this video and you want to save 50 bones or $50, you can use the code bonus50, bonus50, no spaces. I think it's all caps, but it doesn't matter. It's case insensitive. So bonus50, if you want to do that, check that out. There's a ton of videos there. And if you don't like it, just let me know. We'll refund you. No questions asked. We're pretty nice that way. Is this textbook season a little slower than last year? Depends. Is it slower than August of last year? Yes, because August is pretty awesome. It's pretty hard to beat that. It's usually the highest piece of the season. Is this slower than the last January? Just depends. I feel like every semester I get fewer and fewer textbooks just because of all the restrictions. And textbooks used to be a major chunk of my revenue. If you looked at, the summer months, June, July, May, June, July, and then August kind of bumped, they'd be pretty flat, pretty consistent. And you would just see giant candlestick. If you're looking at like a bar chart, you'd see crazy sales in August/September and then crazy sales in January. And as our consignment business is ramped up, as we've kind of become less textbook dependent, we still get nice bumps in January and August. I still, like Greg Murphy says, I still feel like a genius those 2 months of the year, but less and less like a genius because our other months tend to be better and we don't quite see the craziness popping up. What's your roadmap? A roadmap. We have a GPS that kind of dictates where we go. We've been ramping up our development team a little bit in the background. Actually, some of you have seen us post some stuff on Facebook looking to hire. We have done that. We've got our team up and running. We're going to be doing some actually pretty massive overhaul on our triggers. And so many of you that are in our pallet IQ world are doing some of the bulk books. You've seen some pretty cool features there. And we're going to be taking everything we've learned on the bulk side of the world and bringing that back to ScoutIQ, the OG. And we've got some other interesting pieces coming up as well to try and increase your motivation and kind of better our data. So I'll be a little bit generic, but you'll expect to see some cool trigger updates. We've still been promising media database. That is in place. We just need to get that rolled out on the app. And we do have eScore and everything calculated. I know we've been saying this for a while, but that is in the back as well. So that's going to be coming up. Mm-hmm. Melissa says, love Notion. Yep. And Melissa, we really enjoyed, David and I really thoroughly enjoyed our conversation with you and Jason. So thanks for giving us that time in Austin. We appreciated that. They are extremely hard workers. I think 2 years ago, we were talking all about books. That's all they were doing. They had Gaylords in their garage in a residential neighborhood.
Was filled with Gaylords, right?
Huh?
Their house was filled with Gaylords, wasn't it? Like their living room, they said they had books stacked up.
They had books stacked up everywhere inside. I don't think they put Gaylords inside. I don't think those would fit through a standard door frame. But they had their garage full of them, and they were hustling in their residential neighborhood. The next year we went down, they were crushing the custom cookie world and shoes, and now they're getting into crypto, NFTs, and grocery arbitrage. So always something fun. Always love catching up with entrepreneurs and seeing where people go and you know where everything leads them. So that was fun. So appreciate our time. I see another one, Matthew, real quick, says, what does a blank rank and blank eScore mean when the profit is, really high? So a blank rank will typically show, if it shows blank or dash, that means it's never sold on Amazon. That's a book you should probably steer clear of, even if it does have expensive books or expensive prices. It's just never sold. So that's not a book that's likely to sell again. And if it's a blank eScore, that just simply means it's not in our database. An eScore of 0 means it has not sold in the last 6 months. So blank eScore is not something to be afraid of. If the rank is really good, it's probably a new book. Like this one just came out literally last week. And so making numbers count it's not going to have an eScore yet. It's going to take a little bit for us to calculate it. We do monitor scans. When you scan books that aren't in the database, they magically find their way into our database, which is cool. But newer books, as a rule, don't have an eScore right out of the gate. You can use rank instead. If the rank is dash or null or blank, then run away. I mean, you could take a chance if it's a buck and selling for $150, but that's never sold on Amazon. And if it hasn't, it's unlikely to do that as well. Craig says, what's the general opinion of cherry picking FBA only one-person team? Is this an outdated strategy? No, it's not an outdated strategy. It depends on where you live. So I live in Northern Indiana. I do not have a lot of thrift stores near me. My warehouse manager works for me about 20 to 30 hours a week. He actually runs his own operation. He's a one-man show. It's just him. He runs around and does cherry picking. What he's done, he's actually set up routes. So he's got a route where he goes south and hits, certain library standing sales and thrift stores, and he's got his own honey holes and everything else. Then one day he'll go west, one day he goes north, one day he goes east. So he's actually mapped that out. It's really impressive. And if you're going to go cherry picking, then I absolutely think you should be, cautious and plan ahead. Because if you do that, you can take notes on which sources are good, which ones are bad, and you can sort of plan your routes effectively. I know people that have been pretty effective with putting out Facebook ads or just Facebook posts saying, hey, I'll pick up your books, or I'm looking for large collections. You can do that on Nextdoor. So there's ways to drum up books in your area. Benefits of cherry picking, you don't have to deal with all the duds. You don't have to deal with recycling. You don't have to have a giant warehouse or plug your entire garage full of books. And you kind of control what you bring home. And if you're doing FBA, you can ship those out. You can do it on the road. There's a ton of benefits to a one-man team. That's what I was for a long time. Just we didn't have a team, we didn't have a scouts, we didn't have a warehouse, and that was kind of how we ran it. So I like it. If you want to scale at some point, you're trading your time for money. So if you do want to scale the operation at some point, you're going to have to hire either listers or scouters or get a warehouse, etc. So that's those are some things there. Matthew, I've been talking too long. Let's let you jump in a few.
Yeah. So you share a lot of good ideas about how to get books, but what about boxes? I might waste a lot of time getting free boxes to put my books. Any tips on paying is the way to go? I definitely think paying is the way to go. Using one of the things that you'll realize if you ever receive books from someone is that the book boxes get destroyed super easily. So if you're using an old box, the chances that gets destroyed in shipping is pretty probable. So using new boxes, I think, is definitely worth it. Caleb, you buy all your boxes new as well, correct?
Yeah, I mean, again, every business has their hurdles or what your stress points are. I was a professor. I was an honorary professor for the day yesterday. I went to go speak at my old college there. The professor said, "Hey, come on in. We're doing an entrepreneurship chapter. I thought of you." And I said, "Well, I will corrupt all your students, but if you want me to come in and speak, I will." And that's one of the things we talked about was just other ways to make money, how you think like an entrepreneur, how do you act like an entrepreneur. And one of the students asked, because I was flipping books in college, and they said, "Well, where'd you come up with the money to sell books?" And I said, "Well, I was a college student, and like you, I didn't have money. So I didn't go out and buy books. I actually did consignment. I sold books for my friends, and I put little posts up around campus and told everybody that I sold books. And I probably undervalued my services, but I was selling books and taking 10% of the payout as my commission. So the bookstore would pay you $35 for a book that was selling for 80 on Amazon. So I'd make, $8 or whatever on that book. And I just kind of did it myself. So I had tons of time. I was in college. I only had a, full class load, but you still have a ton of time. You're not working. And so I was able to kind of optimize for the time that I had instead of the money that I didn't have. So that's an option you can do. Claude, we've chatted a little bit as well. Go buy the dang boxes. It's not worth your headache to drive around and try and look for those. I don't know what they cost in the UK. That's where you are. But here in the States, Home Depot has great boxes, and they cost like 89 cents or $1.20 or something. So roughly $1 a box. Of course, those are probably going up as supply chain and inflation are hitting here. But roughly $1 a box. Go buy a couple dozen of them, and don't worry about boxes. Spend your time finding books. The beauty of this business is Amazon takes care of the customers. They've got all the traffic. We don't have to, like, when you find a good book, all I have to do is list this book and it's going to sell, right? As long as I price it right and learn how to ship it in and handle Amazon's rules. The benefit and the only thing that separates me from somebody else in this group is who gets the books. So how do you find the books? What are your ways for doing that? And, getting boxes shouldn't really be part of your strategic plan. Just go pay for the boxes.
Yeah. Any new price videos coming? Yes, we've made some updates the last couple of weeks, so I will do an updated walkthrough video of new price just to explain what some of the features are. I have had someone else ask that recently, so I will do an updated walkthrough. Current walkthrough has most things in it, but I'll do an updated one with a few things we've changed since then. I bought your spreadsheet. Can't figure out how to use it. I think there's walkthrough videos that walk through everything on the page, correct? You can go
there are, but again, spreadsheets are intimidating, and I get it. We tried to make it as simple as possible, but yeah. So a couple things there. If you're not too stupid, that spreadsheets are very challenging. So don't, be kind to yourself. These last few years have been hard enough, so you can be kind. Two thoughts. One, go to thebookflipper.com/videos, and that'll actually walk you through every single tab, how to set it up, how to walk through it. If that fails, you can email me, and either myself or my team will get back to you, caleb@thebookflipper.com. And option C, if it still doesn't work, I don't want your money. So email us, let us know, and we'll just refund it. So give it a college try, take it for a run, but don't feel like you're stuck if it doesn't work for you and it's within a reasonable time. You don't come and ask for a refund 6 years after you bought it, but certainly in the first couple months, reach back out and we'll just give you a refund if you can't figure it out. So you're not dumb. Be kind.
17 boxes full of books from the early 1900s. Where can I sell them?
I would go back in time and sell them back in the early 1900s, back when they
probably get more money for most of them.
What would you do, Matthew, if you had old books? Do you have an outlet for that?
Isn't it Abe's Books that does what's the one where you sell collectible books? I've never sold on it. AbeBooks.com, right?
You can do Abe or Libris. eBay tends to work as well. The other option is just like there's restrictedinventory.com and some other websites to kind of move restricted inventory. There's some fellas that move antique inventories. There's a fella by the name of, I believe it's Max down in Florida. And we can drop his info in the comments maybe a little later on. So actually, let me just get his email for those that are going to be watching.
Yeah, old books are tricky because you can't just scan a barcode and get data like you can with new ones. It very much has kind of, you build an eye for it as you go along. The people that Caleb's talked to that do this kind of for a living are amazing. They can look at pretty much any book we show them. They're like, oh yeah, this one's worth money, throw that away. This one's worth money, just by looking at it because of the experience you get with it. But I do know just because it says first edition doesn't mean it's one of the first prints, and there's little details that can make a book very valuable or pretty much worthless.
Yeah, so a couple thoughts. One, you can try to learn that space a little bit. Anything that is like genealogical or chronological or based on an area of the country, like anything that's like specific about a geographic area, typically tends to hold its value. So you can kind of learn and develop your eye. Steve Eisenstein runs a radio show. He's got his own group as well. You can look him up on Facebook, Steven Eisenstein, Eisenstein. You can check him out. I've been on his radio show a few times. He's just a cool dude. He's down in Florida as well. I feel like all the old collectible book guys end up down in Florida. The guy I was talking about, his name is Max Ruback, MaxRuback at AOL.com. He used to run or manage a really impressive bookstore. He knows everything. We were in the warehouse in Missouri going through that, 80 to 100,000 book lot. I would just like hold my phone. He wasn't even there, but I'd hold my phone up over a pile of books. And he's like, that one, and that one, grab those. And then we actually just shipped them off to him, and he got paid for his knowledge, and he has a consignment program as well. So he specializes in eBay. That's an option to do it. You certainly can't send him all your books. He doesn't have space, and not all old books are worth money. So that's a way to do it as well.
Rick says, I've noticed sometimes the rank will show. What?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Notice sometimes the rank will show, but no e-score, even though the chart shows sales the past 6 months. Why is that? You want to answer this one?
Yeah, we mentioned this just a little bit ago. So if there's no e-score, if the e-score says -- that just means null, or we don't have it. That just means it's not in our database. It could be a newer book. It could be one that hasn't shown up yet. We probably have 95-ish% of all books, 96% of all books in our database. So it's getting, stronger by the minute. But there's certainly books that slip through the cracks, or new listings, or brand new books. So if you see that, that's what that means. The app actually falls back gracefully to rank alone, and it doesn't mean you should avoid it. The app should still accept it if the rank is decent. And again, we do crowdsource that, put it back into the database. And then a corollary to that, what does a gray screen mean? Instead of a green accept or a red reject, gray just means there's either no trigger there. It might be a different category. So there's no triggers for, sort of like kitchen category, for example. So instead of telling you accept or reject, it's just going to say gray, means you can make up your own mind about it.
Bubble mailers for books. I'm guessing this is merchant fulfilled talking about.
Yeah, merchant bubble mailers. You know what? Anything that we sell over, I think $20 or $25, we put in a bubble mailer, just because the extra protection, and those buyers tend to care a little bit more about the books. Bubble mailers are expensive, and those costs have gone up significantly over COVID as well. So you're typically dropping, I think it's 60 cents to $1, depending on the size of the bubble mailer. And in the merchant fulfilled game, if you're selling a $7 book, $8 book, your profit goes right out the window. So we use I think it's 3 mil thick, maybe 2.5 mil thick, just regular poly mailers. They're a little bit water resistant. They tend to hold up pretty well. Some of them do get damaged because the post office is brutal. So be it, that's just a cheap insurance policy, and those cost us a couple cents a piece instead of, 60 cents or 70 cents. I don't remember the cost offhand. Mm-hmm. So bubble mailers are great. I know guys that love books tend to wrap them and bubble mail them and seal them with a kiss, and all that's great. We just tend to try and push volume out the door. And if some get damaged, we refund it, make it right, move on. So expensive books, we do it. I know a lot of people have different conflicting thoughts on that. That's just what we do. So you can take it if you'd like it. Don't take it if you don't want it.
All right, Caleb, you should tie this question in with that one resolution you have for this year.
So last year I wanted to play a certain number of rounds of golf and get so many birdies, and actually hit both of them in the last month of the year. So that was pretty cool. For those of you that know golf, I do really enjoy it. I played in college for 1 year. I was not that good. I was probably 11 or 12 handicap in college, which is probably not good enough to play college golf, but small school, lots of opportunity. I got to play. I got down to like an 8 2 years ago, a 5 last year. And then for those of you that know John, you'll see him up on our channel from time to time. Hired him. He's a phenomenal golfer. He's a +5 handicap. So when I'm talking about a 5 or an 8, those are minus values. He is on the other side of that. So when I was a 5 handicap, he was a +5. He was 10 strokes better as his potential than I was. I've actually gotten it down to a 1. I don't know if that's good or bad. It means I spend a lot of time golfing, but that's my time to be social, to meet people. So golf trips planned. We're going to be down in Orlando doing a quick trip, just kind of playing a few rounds down there in the Disney area. Our Denver crew goes out to, we do something every year. We usually go to Phoenix and play golf. This year, we're actually going to go to Hilton Head. So I've never been to that area of the country for golf. So I'm looking forward to that. And then since I moved to Indiana, I found a crew here. So I think I'm just going to move every 2-3 years and pick up a new group of golf fellas. If you're looking for a 4th, an 8th, a 12th, someone to fill in the gaps, by all means, reach out. Caleb@thebookflipper.com. I do have to get some work done, but I do enjoy golf, and we're going to go to Bandon Dunes. So I've heard really good things. Never been out there. That's out in Oregon. So those are kind of my trips planned for the year. Someone says, turn the page, destination Hilton Head. There we go.
Nice.
Someone says, down to go on a trip, Arizona, Bandon, Whistling Straits. Let me know. Let's do Whistling Straits. This is Bird Knows Best again. That'd be awesome. I've never been there. Wisconsin.
Where is that?
It's in Wisconsin. They've done some majors there, and I believe they just did the Ryder Cup there as well. I'm going to look like an idiot if I'm wrong there, but I'm pretty sure that's where it was. So that's a beautiful area. All right, Mind Map Inc. That sounds like a cool software. You want to take this one?
Yeah, so I use ScoutIQ regularly and love it. Thank you. However, doing mainly yard sales, thrifts, etc. Can you offer any suggestions for locations to bulk buy online or otherwise without spending hundreds? Bulk buys locally, the best way you can do it is to make an arrangement with a local library or a local thrift store, or find something nearby you if you're trying to sell on consignment and not pay for Gaylords. If you're trying to pay for Gaylords, there's a bunch of other people that do bulk that have different connections. Some of them are willing to share, some of them are not willing to share what their connections are. If someone wants to spend just a little bit of money and go, is there a website? I don't think there's any website you can just go to buy Gaylords of books right now, is there? Other than one that was created by us.
Yeah, you can do the marketplace program, but you're paying for pre-scanned books at that point.
Yeah, which is going to be more than 100. Yeah.
Oh, there it comes. I can. The Zoom is working. We got these Kickstarter video cameras, and they're supposed to like zoom in as you talk. And I think they're supposed. Oh, look at that! It is working. It's supposed to kind of follow you around.
Hey, it was.
It wasn't working when we tested it. Maybe it woke up. I think the best thing is a lot of these thrift stores that are selling, they want to sell truckloads. They don't want to sell 2 at a time or 5 at a time or 8 at a time. Your best bet is probably finding another bulk seller that you trust. Unfortunately, there's some, not that there's shady ones out there, but sometimes they'll give you the worst of their Gaylords. So find somebody that you trust and work out a deal with them. A lot of times they have a truck or a way to get it. I've seen people work out deals with big bulk players where they go in, and when you buy books by the truckload, you might pick up a Gaylord for, $40, $50 a pop. It just depends on where you live in the country. Maybe it's 80, and they might let you come into their warehouse and not deal with the duds, and you could, buy as many as you want for maybe, 100, 120 bucks, something like that. So they're going to make a little margin. They don't have the labor on it. They let you go through it. They might get some scrap rate. They might get a couple cents a pound back in recycling. So I've seen a lot of people work deals where you go and just get a sweetheart deal with a bulk seller that has truckloads of books, that has lots of them, and we'll just let you come in and buy 2 or 3 or 5 at a time. You can either scan them on site because moving them around is expensive and hard to do, or a lot of times I've seen deals where they'll even drop them off at your warehouse, at your storage unit, at your garage. So just network. I love the book community. I mean, one, just the fact that everybody's on here chit-chatting and saying hey is pretty nice. We have a good community here. The other thing is, like, we're all working against each other a little bit, but it's a huge industry, and most of us are pretty small compared to the Better World book and thrift books and Discover books of the world. So I've seen a lot of people kind of play nicely and share and all that, which is great. These are basic trigger questions. I would just Google ScoutIQ triggers. There's some YouTube videos. There's some content there. But I noticed as I was scanning, the price sometimes defaulted to the Amazon price as opposed to the buy box. What happens is Amazon is a pretty aggressive ceiling. If the used buy box is $20, but Amazon's on the listing for 17, then you probably shouldn't list it above Amazon's price. If you can buy a brand new book from the mothership itself, why would you buy a used book and pay more? Of course, anomalies do happen, but that's not a good pricing strategy. So what we do by default, you can change it in your triggers, but we typically stay 10% under Amazon. So if Amazon's on the listing for $20 and let's say the used buy box is 19, it's actually going to highlight Amazon's price still, and it's going to treat it as if it's $18. So 10% off Amazon is going to be there. So I don't think you're doing anything wrong. That's how the triggers are set up. And again, just Google ScoutIQ triggers. There's some detailed information that walks you exactly through what that logic, that Plinko steps are.
Here's a pricing question.
Real quick, Chaplin says, why are we discussing golf? Because somebody asked about it and I like golf. This is my channel, so here we go. have to address the trolls. Facebook use there. Any suggestions on pricing books when the suggested price is considerably higher than the list? So Amazon's getting a little more difficult with list price. So, and I understand they're trying to make sure that their people aren't ripping off the customers. However, on out of print books, let's say the list price was 20, but there's, it's 5 years out of print. There's only 3 copies available and people are willing to pay 50. I'm a big believer of free market. I think we should be allowed to do it. Unfortunately, Amazon is kicking in a little bit, not letting that happen. So if, let's say there's 2 people on the listing and the price is $300, that might seem too good to be true. We see people post this in the group. What you should do is get really good at reading Keepa. And if you don't want to pay for Keepa, ScoutIQ has ChartIQ built in. It's a little graph right in the app. You can click that. You don't have to pay for Keepa. It's our own internal data. You can actually see what the book sold for in the past. So if you see a really artificially inflated book, tap on ChartIQ, get the Keepa extension, either one, and go ahead and look at that as well. And then you can see what the book sold for. Maybe it sells for 40, in which case you should probably sell it around that price as well.
So Gift Rock says, new FBA part-time bookseller, started with ScoutIQ from the beginning, been selling for 30 days and 1,300 in Amazon sales so far, sitting around 200 in inventory right now, trying to get to 1,000. That's really, really good for 30 days into this. Congratulations on that progress.
Sweet.
That's, yeah, really good. Let's see what the next, some other questions
Well,
we've
actually seen a fair amount of people, people come and go all the time, and we like to say books are the gateway drug. So people get started with books and then eventually, either, burn out or kind of migrate to other categories like shoes or retail arbitrage. So those that stick around, kudos. It is a great place to start. It can be hard to scale depending on what your desire is. I love it because it's always fun to try and partner with somebody new or go find new books and find new sources. And it's just the adventure for me. So we're seeing a fair amount of people get out started again. So kudos to that. And again, I spoke to the entrepreneurship class yesterday at my alma mater, Grace College, and just said, hey, the lecture they wanted me to talk on was thinking like an entrepreneur. And I turned it around and said, it's about acting like an entrepreneur. There's tons of great ideas out there. If you haven't sold yet and you're watching the video or in the Facebook group, you can see the idea and go, yeah, it looks like it works. And I can put together a business plan and just think through what it might look like, but get out there and try. The worst happens is you lose a couple bucks because you can't sell the books or it takes a while to get your Amazon account set up, but get out there and try. And once you learn how to kind of exercise that muscle of making a few dollars, that will start to pay dividends. You'll start to see opportunities in other places. And I think entrepreneurship is something that you can kind of work out just like a muscle and continue to just grow and do that as well.
Yeah. Question from Michael Kreider for you.
The stock market guru. Bullish or bearish after the COVID spike in online sales volume? So we referenced that 2020 e-commerce grew about 100%. It went from roughly 10 to 12% of total retail was e-commerce up to close to 20%. So pretty impressive. Do we think sales for 2022 will be higher or lower than 2021? I think the trend's going to keep increasing. Just in general, I don't know about books. I think books are a fairly mature market that's unlikely to grow 10% year over year. I think those days are long behind us. So do I think sales in general for e-commerce will be higher or lower? I think that trend of clicking a button and stuff showing up and the metaverse taking on and everything else, I think online sales or e-commerce will be higher is my hunch. What do you think, Matthew?
No, yeah, e-commerce, of course, is going to keep going up. I don't think we'll see the same rate of increase for the book market specifically, but I don't think it's going to drastically decline in the near future either. So, yeah, not as big of a percentage increase, but not something I think to be worried about in this coming year.
Yep.
Slightly a tax question, but if you're purely selling FBA, can you just let Amazon handle all the sales tax? How many states are they currently collecting for now?
I think they're collecting in I think it's roughly 40, and there's a handful of states that don't collect. So they're nearly there. There might be a state or 2 or 3 or 4 that still don't collect. And so again, talk to an accountant. You're probably supposed to be registering and collecting if you sell more than, $1,000 or $20,000. There's certain metrics in each state. Sometimes it's a unit number. But in general, the states now have realized that it's so ineffective to go after individual sellers, and they're just going to force Amazon to collect and remit that sales tax. So the nice part is, and I believe they did this on merchant fulfilled as well. That's not up to us to track anymore. Again, if the state can go after Amazon and they're going upstream and getting the data from the mothership itself, they can do that. And so that's what they're going to be doing. Talk to an accountant. This was probably a bigger issue a couple of years ago when no states were doing it, and then just a couple were. Now all the states have kind of figured out that if they want to get that revenue, they need to go, tackle Amazon. So in general, that's not something to worry about in 2022.
All right, so profit by ScoutIQ is higher than Amazon, which is a more reliable source. Does Amazon always, the app, does it always take the lowest offer for your profit calculations if you look up a book in the app?
Yeah, so a couple questions here. One, if you're looking at the FBA revenue calculator, they should match. Sometimes Amazon puts some storage fees in there as well. If you're looking at the Amazon seller app itself, that's not a scouting app. It's not really built for that. It's much slower. And typically they're going to look at the lowest price. You can set it to look at the lowest prime price, but ScoutIQ has advanced triggers that's looking at different prices. So if you match those up dollar for dollar, they should match as well. We're pulling those fees directly from Amazon as well.
Yeah, but no, yeah, ScoutIQ may suggest a higher price than what Amazon's displaying because the triggers say it's selling more often, and you can probably get a higher price than selling at the lowest price available.
Yep. Kreider said this up to
45 states.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we will take 1 or 2 more questions. We're just over an hour, so thanks for watching. Again, if you missed the earlier parts or want to check up, you can see the replay as well. That'll go live on YouTube here not that long after we finish. If you're on Facebook, you can simply go back in time and just rewatch it. So that'll be there forever, or as long as the internet lasts. So that'll be there for you. So thanks for being on. Thanks for taking a little bit of time, especially on a Friday. It is now past 5 o'clock on the East Coast, which is where I am. Matthew still has a little bit of work left in his day, so don't quit early. None of that. You can't start drinking yet. But thanks for being with us. Thanks for struggling through 2021 and getting off to 2022. We hope that the year is treating you well. We'll take 1 or 2 more questions, and then we'll let you get back to it. And there's some NFL playoffs and a bunch of other fun stuff this weekend as well. Anthony says,
you go.
I started books to help me get volume sales and ungated for other FBA. Between books and regular products, since May of 2021, I've had 40K in sales growing fast. That's awesome. So 40K since May, that kind of rhymes actually. So about 7 months, you're doing about almost $6,000 a month. And I'm sure your last months were very, very good. So keep that growth up, Anthony. That's fantastic. And then again, books are a great foundation, a great way to get started. Some of you love it. You can keep it as a chunk of your business. Many of you decide to kind of branch out or graduate, as we like to say. That's great as well.
Yeah. Sterling says, how long did it take you to approve for your Facebook group? I normally approve people daily. I approved everyone that was pending earlier today. So you should have been approved already, unless you asked in the last hour or 2, and then you probably are still in the wait list there. But you should be approved. And then I'll go through and approve everyone right after we're done here as well, just in case you're not there. Let me try and find a question, the last one that has not been asked yet.
I see 2 more. There's one from Joseph Jacques. I can just read it. Is there a fixed length of time after someone opens a professional Amazon account before they qualify for the use buy box, 30, 60, 90 days? I don't believe it's time-based, Joseph. It tends to be after you get a few feedback. So I think I've seen anywhere from 3 to 5. I think 5 is kind of the magic number. Unfortunately, feedback on Amazon takes a while to get. I see someone else ask the best way to get feedback, sell more books. That is the best way to do it, unfortunately. In the eBay world, it's kind of you scratch my back, I scratch yours. Both buyer and seller leave feedback. And so you get a very high percentage of your sales that have feedback. In the Amazon space, the seller does not get to leave any feedback for the buyer. It's just the buyer for the seller. And most of the time, if they buy it Prime, they just kind of assume it was Amazon. So they don't think to leave feedback. That's not something they typically do. You're not really supposed to request it, or not supposed to request positive feedback anyway. So the typical feedback rate is 0.5%. So you need to sell 200 books to get 1 feedback, which means if you want to get the buy box, you need 5 feedback. You're going to have to get 1,000 units sold roughly. So there's some other ways to kind of solicit feedback that is within the terms of service. Check out our Facebook group. That question's been asked quite a bit. Some people have some good ideas. Typically, they involve merchant fulfilling the books, putting a nice little note that says, I'm a new seller, feedback helps. You're not allowed to solicit or ask for positive feedback or kind of hint that you should leave 5 stars, but asking for feedback is certainly something you can look into doing. So with that, we will let this go. Many of you will still have questions. That's fine. We do these about once a month. So save those questions, of course, ask in the Facebook group, ask on the YouTube here, and we'll try and answer some of those even after this call is over. Marcus says, I had wine since it's 11 p.m. in Germany. It's still COVID time. You can drink whenever you want. No one's going to judge. But
5 o'clock somewhere.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for staying up that late to watch. And everybody else, I hope you have a wonderful weekend, whatever you're doing. Be safe, be well. We'll catch you next month.
Talk to you guys later.